Many of us find ourselves lost in a constant mental tug-of-war, pulled between the regrets of yesterday and the anxieties of tomorrow. This relentless focus on what was or what might be is the root of much of our unhappiness. True peace and improvement are not found in these phantom realms, but in the only reality we ever truly have, the present moment. Nothing ever happens in the past or future, every experience occurs in a continuous stream of nows. By learning to anchor our awareness in this present moment, we can dissolve the self-created problems that dominate our lives. A daunting task becomes manageable when we address only the single, small step in front of us, rather than being overwhelmed by the imagined totality of the work. The key to a dramatically improved life is this simple, yet profound, shift: stop clinging to the past and stop fearing the future. This journey inward reveals that a significant portion of our pain is not imposed by the world, but generated from within. We experience suffering when our mind resists things as they are, creating a negative emotional charge. Compounding this is a fascinating and troublesome inner entity, the pain body. This is an accumulation of past emotional pain that has taken on a life of its own. It feeds on more pain to survive, often triggering reactions of anger, frustration, or sadness to sustain itself. We can become so identified with this pain body that we fear letting it go, as it feels like losing a part of who we are. Recognizing that much of our suffering is internally generated is ultimately empowering, for it means we have the capacity to end it. The chief architect of this internal strife is the ego, a part of the mind that operates subtly and autonomously. The ego depends on conflict, drama, and a sense of separateness to maintain its identity. It is the voice that insists on being right, takes offense easily, and constantly compares itself to others. While no one consciously chooses misery, the ego quietly sabotages happiness, leading us into unnecessary arguments and keeping us trapped in unsatisfying situations. It thrives when we are mentally absent, replaying old stories or projecting into future worries, thus cutting us off from the peace and clarity available only in the now. To break free from this cycle, we must learn to separate ourselves from the tyranny of the mind and reconnect with the intelligence of the body. The mind, left unchecked, is a factory of pain, churning out regrets and anxieties that keep us from the present. The body, however, exists only in the now. By shifting our attention from the chaotic stream of thoughts to the inner energy field of the body, feeling the aliveness in our hands, the breath in our lungs, we find a stable anchor. Great spiritual traditions point to the importance of the body as a vessel for presence, not an obstacle to transcend. Enlightenment is found not by escaping physicality, but by inhabiting it fully and consciously. The essential practice for achieving this separation is to become the watcher of your own mind. This involves observing your thoughts without judgment or engagement. You might ask yourself, what will my next thought be? And in the space of alert waiting, you create a gap in the relentless mental chatter. When a critical or compulsive thought arises, instead of following it or arguing with it, you simply acknowledge its presence with a smile. This observation creates a dimension of consciousness that is not of the mind. You are no longer completely identified with your thoughts, you are the awareness behind them. In this space, the mind's power diminishes, and true choice becomes possible. Cultivating this state of awareness leads to a quality of permanent alertness, or active waiting. This is not a passive, bored waiting, but a highly alert state where all your attention is focused on the present moment, as if something profoundly important could happen at any second. In this state, you are fully present, and the mind falls silent. This practice transforms ordinary moments into portals of peace. It can be applied to daily activities, washing dishes, walking, listening to someone, turning them into meditation. This continuous thread of presence is the foundation for a life free of psychological time, where you meet each moment fresh, without the baggage of the past. Living with such presence naturally impacts your relationships. Initially, it may be challenging for partners or family accustomed to interacting with your ego and its dramas. However, when you cease to create conflict through mental reactivity, you stop feeding negativity into the relationship. You begin to relate to others from a place of stillness and acceptance, rather than need and projection. This doesn't mean you become passive, it means your interactions are no longer driven by unconscious patterns. You can engage fully and passionately from a place of inner space, which allows for deeper, more authentic connection. It is crucial to understand that surrendering to the present moment does not mean denying or suppressing genuine emotion. Some pain is an inevitable part of the human experience, such as grief or physical suffering. The practice is not to ignore these feelings, but to allow them to be, to feel them completely without the mind's story of resistance, blame, or self-pity. In this deep acceptance, a transformation occurs. The pure emotion is felt and allowed to pass through, while the additional, self-created suffering, the why me narrative, dissolves. This is the difference between pain and suffering. Finally, this path of presence is not a recipe for passivity or inaction. On the contrary, true action arises from a state of alignment with the present moment. When your doing comes from a place of inner stillness and awareness, it becomes empowered and effective. You are no longer acting from anxiety, greed, or a restless need to achieve, but from a clear perception of what is required in the now. This state of surrender is not weakness, but an intelligent alignment with the flow of life, where your actions are timely, appropriate, and free from the frantic energy of the ego. It is in the full embrace of the now that you discover not only peace, but also the source of true creativity and power.